I still remember the exact moment everything snapped. The noise was unbearable, metal clanging, engines roaring, radios crackling like static in my skull. But somehow, his voice cut through all of it. "Dylan, you think you're smarter than me now?" I froze. Every head on the floor turned. Dust hung in the air like time itself had stopped. And there I was, standing in front of everyone, gloves still on, heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Derek Vaughn, our foreman, took a step closer. His boots hit the concrete like a countdown. "You don't get paid to think," he said, loud enough for everyone. "You get paid to do what I tell you." I felt the heat crawl up my neck. My hands clenched into fists, but not out of anger, out of restraint. Because deep down, I knew this wasn't just about a mistake. This was about control. And for the first time since I started this job, I wasn't sure I was willing to stay quiet anymore. I'm Dylan Mercer, 26. Been working this job for a little over 2 years. When I first got hired, I thought I had made it. Steady pay, overtime opportunities, enough to help my mom with bills and still save a little on the side. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work, and I took pride in that. At first, everything felt manageable. Long hours, sure. Back-breaking days? Absolutely. But there was a rhythm to it, a sense of teamwork. That was before Derek Vaughn really showed who he was. At first, he just seemed strict, the kind of foreman who expected things done his way. No shortcuts, no excuses. But over time, it became something else. Control. He watched everything, micromanaged every move. If you paused for even a second, he'd be right there. "Why are you standing around? You call that efficient? You're slowing everyone down." It didn't matter how hard you worked, it was never enough. And if something went wrong, it was never his fault. Always ours. I remember one time, a shipment got delayed because of a scheduling error, something clearly out of our control. Derek still lined us up like we were in trouble. "Someone messed up," he said, "and until I find out who, all of you are staying late." We stayed 3 extra hours that night, unpaid. That was when I started noticing the cracks, not just in the system, but in myself. I'd go home exhausted, barely able to eat. My mom would ask how work was, and I'd just say, same as always. But it wasn't the same. It was getting worse. The only thing that kept me going were the few people who hadn't lost themselves to it. Marcus Reed. Solid guy. Quiet, but dependable. The kind of coworker who had your back without making a big deal out of it. And then there was Tyler Grant. Tyler was the opposite. Loud, sarcastic, always joking, even when things were falling apart. "Man," he'd say, leaning on his station, "if Derek had a remote control, he'd probably pause us mid-breath just to feel powerful." We'd laugh, but there was truth in it, and we all knew it. It didn't take long for things to escalate. Derek started pushing harder. Deadlines got tighter, breaks got shorter, expectations got higher, but the support, that disappeared. One afternoon, a new guy, Caleb, made a small mistake. Nothing major. Something anyone could have fixed in minutes. Derek didn't fix it. He exploded. "You think this is a game?" he yelled, getting right in Caleb's face. "You screw up like that again, you're done." The kid looked like he was about to pass out. I stepped forward before I even realized I was moving. "It's not that serious," I said. "We can fix it." Derek turned to me slowly. That was the first time I saw it. That look, like I had just crossed a line I couldn't uncross. "You want to take responsibility for him?" he asked. I hesitated. That was all he needed. "Didn't think so," he said, turning away. But from that moment on, I was on his radar. Every little thing I did became a problem. If I finished early, "You rushing and cutting corners?" If I double-checked my work, "You wasting time now?" It didn't matter. I couldn't win. Even Marcus started noticing. "He's targeting you," he said one day during a break. I know, I replied, staring at the ground. So what are you going to do about it? That question stuck with me, because the truth was, I didn't know. I needed the job. I needed the money. But every day felt heavier than the last. And then came the incident, the one that changed everything. It started like any other day, but it ended like a breaking point. We were behind schedule, not because of us, but because the equipment we were given was outdated and unreliable. I had flagged it before, multiple times. Derek ignored it every time. Work with what you've got, he'd say. So we did, until it failed, completely. A major piece of equipment malfunctioned mid-task. Sparks flew. Everything shut down. The entire floor went silent. And then, Dylan! I turned. Derek was already walking toward me. You were on that station, weren't you? Yes, but then this is on you. My chest tightened. No, it's not, I said, louder than I expected. I reported the issue more than once. He laughed. Actually laughed. You think anyone's going to believe that? Something inside me snapped. Not anger, clarity. I don't need them to believe it, I said. I documented it. Silence. Real silence. Not the kind filled with noise, but the kind that hits like a shockwave. Derek's smile faded. What are you talking about? I pulled out my phone. Every report, every message, every ignored warning. Time-stamped, clear, undeniable. I knew this would happen, I said, so I made sure there'd be proof. For the first time since I met him, Derek looked uncertain, and that's when everything shifted. Management got involved. They reviewed everything, and just like that, the narrative changed. Derek wasn't yelling anymore. He wasn't pacing around, barking orders, acting like he owned the place. He was quiet. And then, he was gone. No big announcement, no dramatic send-off, just gone. The tension lifted almost instantly. People started talking again, smiling even. Marcus clapped me on the shoulder. You did what none of us could, he said. But it didn't feel like victory. Not at first. It felt like relief, like I could finally breathe again. A few weeks later, things stabilized. New leadership came in, fair, respectful, actually listening. And for the first time in a long time, work felt like work again. Not a battlefield, not a power struggle, just honest effort. And I realized something important. I hadn't just stood up to Derek. I had stood up for myself. Looking back, I used to think surviving a tough job meant staying quiet, keeping your head down, doing what you told. But I was wrong, because there's a difference between working hard and letting someone control you. Respect isn't something you're given automatically. Sometimes you have to demand it, and sometimes you have to prove it. Not with anger, not with revenge, but with truth. So if you're in a place where you feel small, where someone's trying to break you down just to feel bigger, remember this. You're not powerless. You're just waiting for the moment you decide not to be. And when that moment comes, everything changes. If this story hit you in any way, take a second to like it. It really helps more than you think. And if you know someone going through something similar, don't hesitate to share this with them. For more stories like this, real, raw, and worth your time, make sure you subscribe and stick around. You never know which story might be the one you needed to hear. The shift ends, but the stories never do. Every smile hides a struggle, every word a story. Hit subscribe and see the human side of work. Thank you for watching.